Jack Carson had always believed he was good at three things: fixing engines, saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, and somehow surviving afterward. None of those skills, however, prepared him for crash landing in the royal garden of an alien empire. The sky above was an ocean of gold and violet, and the ground beneath him shimmered like glass dusted with light. His shuttle smoldered behind him, half buried in glowing blue vines that pulsed like they were alive. Somewhere in the distance, bells rang soft, melodic, and judging by the stomping approaching footsteps, probably alarm bells. "Okay," Jack muttered, brushing soot off his jacket. "Step 1, don't panic. Step 2, make a good first impression. Step 3, don't die." He didn't even reach step 4 before 12 tall figures surrounded him. Alien guards, each wearing silver armor that reflected the stars. Their eyes glowed faintly through their helmets, and their long tails flicked like impatient whips. They raised their weapons, sleek spears of humming energy, aiming them right at his face. Jack raised both hands and smiled nervously. "Hi, sorry about the garden. Love what you've done with the place. Very shiny." One of the guards snarled something in a language that sounded like thunder underwater. Another one took a step forward, but stopped when a sharp voice echoed from behind them. "Enough." The crowd parted instantly. And that was when Jack saw her. The Queen of Gyra stepped forward like a dream in motion. Her skin shimmered faintly with a pearly glow, like moonlight trapped under glass. Her hair floated around her shoulders as if the air itself couldn't let go of her, and her eyes, amethyst, bright and endless, studied him with curiosity, not cruelty. Jack swallowed. "You must be the lady in charge." The guards gasped. One of them barked, "Silence, intruder. You stand before her radiance, Queen Alaya of the Gyran Dominion." Jack's nervous grin didn't fade. "Right, sorry, your radiance. I, didn't mean to crash your royal garden. My ship decided gravity was more persuasive than I was." For a moment no one moved. The guards stood ready to strike, but the Queen, Alaya, tilted her head, studying him. Her voice, when it came, was calm but carried the weight of command. "Do not harm him," she said softly. One of the guards protested. "Your Majesty, he is human, a trespasser." "Don't touch him," the Queen said again, her tone firm, almost possessive. Her violet gaze didn't leave Jack's. "He's mine." Jack blinked. "Wait, what?" A small smile tugged at the corner of her lips. "You fell from the sky into my domain. That makes you my responsibility." She turned, her shimmering cloak brushing past the stunned guards. "Bring him." The guards exchanged uncertain looks but obeyed. Jack was too confused to resist as they escorted him through the glowing garden toward a palace that looked like it had been carved from crystal and light. The Palace of Gyra was alive. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the building itself was breathing. Strange floating lights drifted through the air like fireflies. Everywhere Jack looked, there were colors and sounds he couldn't describe, notes that vibrated in his bones, shadows that seemed to dance on their own. He tried to act casual. "So, nice place, very shiny, I feel underdressed." One of the guards growled, "Silence, human." Jack shrugged. "Okay, fine. Just saying, maybe a little less hostility, a little more hospitality." The guard jabbed him lightly with the energy spear. "Move." Jack sighed. "Right, hospitality later." When they reached the throne room, he nearly forgot to breathe. The ceiling arched high above, covered in living vines of light. At the far end sat the queen, her throne made of something that looked like frozen sunlight. "Leave us," she ordered, her voice echoing softly. The guards hesitated, then bowed and exited, leaving Jack alone with her. The silence that followed felt heavy but not unfriendly. Alaya rose from her throne, gliding down the steps toward him. Her every movement was graceful, like music. "You are human," she said quietly, "a species known for chaos, curiosity, and destruction." Jack scratched the back of his neck. "Yeah, we're working on the last part." You are smaller than I expected, she said, circling him slowly. And yet you speak without fear. Oh, I'm terrified, he said honestly, just hiding it behind my charming smile. That made her pause, then unexpectedly she laughed. It was soft, melodic, and real. You are bold, Jack Carson. He blinked. Wait, you know my name. Her smile deepened. Your ship told me before it burned. Ah, he said, so I made a fiery first impression. The Queen's eyes glimmered with amusement. Indeed, perhaps I shall keep you. Keep me, he repeated, eyebrows raised. As in, pet, prisoner, or… Perhaps, she interrupted with a teasing spark in her eyes, something else. Jack felt his heart skip a beat. And just like that, he realized he was in deep, deep trouble. Not because of the guards. Not because of the crash. But because the most beautiful alien he'd ever met had just claimed him as hers. And he wasn't entirely sure he wanted to escape. Jack woke up to the sound of distant singing. It wasn't human music, it was softer, almost alive, like the palace itself was humming a lullaby. The bed beneath him was warm and silky, and the air smelled faintly like rain and electricity. Then he remembered he wasn't on Earth, he was in her palace. He sat up too quickly, bumping his head on a floating orb of light. Ow, okay, so that's not a lamp. A tiny mechanical creature with 6 glowing eyes scurried along the wall and beeped at him. Morning to you too, Jack muttered. Do you do coffee around here? The door opened with a soft chime and 2 tall guards stepped in. Their expressions, if those shiny helmets had faces, were unreadable. The Queen requests your presence, one said in a deep, rumbling tone. Jack sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, sure. Just give me 5 minutes to, panic privately. The guards didn't laugh. Of course they didn't. They escorted him through glowing corridors that pulsed with faint color, blue, then green, then gold, like the palace was breathing. Every wall shimmered, every arch seemed to move ever so slightly, alive and aware. It was beautiful, and also mildly terrifying. He tried to make small talk. So, do you guys always wake up prisoners with spa music, or is that a special treatment for crashing guests? No answer, just silent shining armor. Right, tough crowd. When they reached the throne room, Queen Elia was waiting. She stood near a massive window that overlooked the floating gardens, silver trees and glowing petals drifting through the air like lazy snow. Jack stopped at the entrance, unsure whether to bow, salute, or wave. He went with a half wave. Hey, your shiny, majesty. The guard stiffened instantly. Elia turned slowly, one elegant brow arched. Your shiny majesty. Jack winced. It sounded better in my head. The guards looked like they were ready to vaporize him, but the Queen raised her hand. Leave us. Once they were gone, silence filled the room again. Elia stepped closer, her long gown trailing behind her like liquid light. You have an unusual way of addressing royalty, human. I have an unusual way of staying alive, Jack said, managing a grin, mostly by accident. Her lips twitched, almost smiling, and yet you are still here. Lucky me. She studied him carefully, walking around him in a slow circle. You are not like the others I have met. You speak without fear. You joke when you should beg. Jack shrugged. Begging, not really my thing. Besides, you seem too nice to vaporize me. Nice? She stopped behind him, her voice soft but sharp. You call the Queen of Gyra nice. He turned, meeting her gaze. Would you prefer terrifyingly gorgeous and slightly intimidating? A small laugh escaped her before she could stop it. The sound filled the room like sunlight. You are reckless. I get that a lot. She looked at him for a long moment, eyes glowing faintly. Tell me, Jack Carson, why did you come to this world? I didn't mean to, he admitted. My ship's navigation failed. I was trying to fix a beacon and, well, gravity won. She tilted her head. You risked your life to fix a machine. He chuckled. It's what I do, Machines don't talk back or try to stab you. Until now, she said, amused. Their laughter faded into a quieter stillness. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the alien queen and the human fool who had fallen from the sky. But the peace didn't last long. The door burst open. One of the guards hurried in and bowed deeply. Your Majesty, the council demands an explanation. They say the human insulted your title. It is treason by our code. Elia's expression turned cold. Treason for words. He mocked your name before witnesses. They insist he be punished. Jack raised his hands quickly. Whoa, hang on, I wasn't mocking. Where I come from, shiny is a compliment. It means you look amazing. A few guards exchanged looks. The queen blinked, clearly trying not to smile. You called me amazing. Well, Jack said, grinning nervously. Technically, I said shiny, but yeah, same energy. The guard looked horrified. He continues his mockery. Enough, Elia interrupted, her tone suddenly sharp. The human is under my protection. You will not harm him. The guard hesitated, but... Do you question your queen? Her voice cut through the air like thunder. The guard immediately bowed. No, my queen. He retreated, the doors closing behind him. Silence again. Jack let out a shaky breath. Okay, so, I'm guessing I'm not winning any popularity contests around here. Elia turned to him, her expression softening. They fear what they do not understand. You are different, curious, brave. He smirked. You make it sound like a compliment. It is, she said, stepping closer until she stood right before him. Most beings who stand before me tremble. You make jokes. Jack's voice lowered slightly. That's just how I deal with scary things. Am I scary to you? She asked quietly. He swallowed, a little but mostly distracting. Elia's lips curved into a small smile. Careful, human. Words like that could get you into more trouble. Jack met her gaze, heart thudding. Then I guess I'm already in deep. For a moment, the space between them pulsed with something electric, something new. And the queen of Gyra, who had ruled 1,000 stars without blinking, found herself unable to look away from the one fragile creature who made her feel. Jack wasn't sure if he was being invited to dinner or being led to his execution. 2 guards escorted him through endless golden corridors that glowed faintly, humming with quiet energy. Every step echoed softly. Strange paintings shimmered along the walls, showing stars, battles, and faces with bright, luminous eyes. He had no idea if they were history or warning signs. When they stopped at the entrance to a vast hall, Jack almost tripped on his own feet. The dining room looked like something out of a dream. The ceiling was glass, revealing a swirling sky of violet and silver clouds. The long table glowed with its own soft light. Plates floated in the air, rearranging themselves as though invisible hands were setting them. And at the far end sat Queen Elia. Her gown was deep blue tonight, almost black, sparkling with tiny lights that looked like real stars. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders, glowing faintly in the dim light. Jack's stomach flipped. Right, he whispered to himself. Don't stare, don't say anything dumb, try not to drool. Elia looked up and smiled faintly. You came. Well, it was either this or stay locked up in the shiny room with the creepy cleaning robot, Jack said, walking forward. I like dinner better. Her lips curved. Sit then, human. Let us see what your stomach thinks of Gyran food. The plates floated closer and settled in front of him. Each one held something stranger than the last, dishes that glowed faintly, soup that shimmered like starlight, fruits that pulsed with color as if they were breathing. Jack hesitated. So, do I eat it or does it eat me first? Elia laughed softly. You humans have strange humor. It is safe, mostly. Mostly. She tilted her head. The yellow one may fight back if you bite too soon. He blinked. Wait, fight back. Before he could finish, a small yellow blob on his plate wiggled and snapped at his fork. Jack yelped and nearly fell backward out of his chair. Alaya burst into laughter, real laughter. It was soft but full of warmth, her eyes shining like amethyst fire. "You did that on purpose," Jack accused, grinning despite himself. "Perhaps," she said, still smiling. "You are far too easy to startle." He leaned forward, pretending to whisper. "You try being bitten by your dinner, Your Majesty. Builds character." She chuckled again. "Eat the blue fruit instead. It will calm your nerves." He eyed it suspiciously, then took a bite. Instantly, cool sweetness flooded his mouth, like mint and honey mixed with cold wind. "Okay," he said with a nod. "That one's a keeper." Alaya rested her chin on her hand, studying him. "You surprise me, Jack Carson. Most who stand before me are afraid to speak. You make jokes, you spill soup, you question everything." Jack smiled. "That's humanity for you. We're curious, and terrible at shutting up." "Curious," she repeated softly. "That word suits you." He tilted his head. "Is that a compliment or a warning?" "Perhaps both," she said. They ate in a comfortable silence for a while. Then her voice softened. "Tell me of your world, Jack, of Earth." He smiled faintly, eyes distant. "It's messy, loud, too many people, not enough patience, but it's also beautiful. Blue skies, green forests, oceans that go on forever. We build, we fight, we love. Even when we're broken, we keep going." Alaya listened, her expression unreadable. "You speak with affection, even for your flaws." "That's kind of our thing," he said quietly. "We love the broken stuff most." Her gaze lingered on him, almost tender now. "Strange. We Gyrans do not show affection for weakness. We hide it, we bury it." "That sounds lonely," Jack said softly. She looked away, her voice barely a whisper. "It is." The silence that followed was different this time. Not awkward, but heavy with something unspoken. Jack cleared his throat gently. "Well, if it helps, you're not alone tonight." Alaya turned back to him, eyes shining faintly. "You are bold, human." "I know," he said with a crooked grin. "I'm working on it." Her lips curved again, but this time the smile reached her eyes. "You should be careful, Jack Carson. There are laws in this palace. No one speaks to me like this." He leaned forward slightly. "Then maybe your laws need a little breaking." Her breath caught just for a moment. Then she stood abruptly, her chair gliding backward as if obeying her thought. "You are reckless," she said, trying to sound stern. "Reckless keeps things interesting," he replied. She took a slow step toward him, her voice quiet. "And what if your recklessness costs you your life?" Jack smiled. "Then at least I'll go out knowing I made a queen laugh." Her expression softened again. "You are impossible." He shrugged. "It's one of my better qualities." Alaya stopped beside him, her shadow falling across the table. For a long moment, neither moved. The faint glow of the palace lights painted her in silver. "Jack Carson," she whispered, her voice trembling just slightly, "you should not make me feel this way." He looked up at her, heart pounding. "What way?" Her eyes flickered with emotion she couldn't hide. "Like the stars are closer than they should be." For a second, time itself seemed to pause. Then before either could say more, the sound of boots echoed from the hallway, sharp, urgent. A voice shouted from beyond the door, "Your Majesty, the council demands your presence. It's about the human." Alaya froze, her expression hardening again. The warmth vanished from her face, replaced by the cold authority of a ruler. She looked at him, her voice quiet but firm. "Stay here, say nothing." Jack stood, heart racing. "Alaya, what's going on?" But she was already turning toward the door, her glowing gown trailing behind her like liquid moonlight. And just before she left the room, she looked back once. Her eyes were full of conflict, and something dangerously close to longing. The Grand Council Chamber of Gyra was a place built for judgment, not mercy. Columns of crystal rose high into the air, their tips humming with silent power. Rows of alien nobles filled the room, tall, elegant beings with glowing eyes and expressions carved from ice. The sound of their murmurs echoed like whispers through a storm. And at the center of it all stood Jack Carson, chained, surrounded, and completely out of his depth. He tried to keep his voice calm. "Okay, I get it. You guys are mad. But in my defense, I only crashed one ship and called your queen shiny. That's barely a crime on Earth." The murmurs grew louder. Someone hissed. A deep voice thundered from the far end of the chamber. "Silence, human." Jack flinched. A tall counselor stepped forward, his silver armor glinting. His skin was pale like moonlight and his sharp eyes burned with disdain. "You insulted Her Majesty in public. You damaged royal property. You trespassed on sacred ground." Jack sighed. "Yeah, okay, when you put it like that, it sounds bad." The crowd erupted again, but this time, another voice cut through the noise, clear, strong, and familiar. "Enough." Every alien turned instantly as Queen Elia entered the chamber. Her gown shimmered like a night sky full of stars, and her eyes burned with quiet fire. "My queen," the counselor said, bowing low, "forgive our haste, but the human must face judgment. Our laws demand it." Elia walked past him, her steps slow and deliberate. "Your laws," she said softly, "were written for traitors and thieves. He is neither." Jack blinked. "See, finally someone who gets it." She gave him a look that said, "Don't make this harder." The counselor turned toward her. "You cannot protect him, Majesty. The people are watching. If we let this outsider go unpunished, they will see it as weakness." Elia's gaze sharpened, or as compassion. "Compassion," the counselor spat, "for a human." Jack frowned. "Hey, I can hear you, buddy." The alien sneered. "You are lucky you still draw breath." Elia took a step forward. "He draws breath because I command it." The chamber fell silent. Even the humming crystals seemed to stop vibrating. Jack watched her, his heart pounding. The queen who once spoke like the stars now stood between him and a firing squad, her chin lifted in defiance. The counselor's eyes narrowed. "My queen, your judgment is clouded. You are too close to this creature." The words hung in the air like poison. "Too close," Elia said slowly. He bowed again, though his tone dripped with mock respect. "The court has noticed your unusual interest in the human. It weakens your authority." Whispers rippled through the room. Jack felt the tension twist in his gut. He wanted to speak, to defend her, but one look from Elia stopped him. Her expression stayed calm, but her voice grew colder. "You overstep, counselor." "Do I, or do I speak for your people?" Elia's hand brushed the hilt of the ceremonial sword at her side, a weapon more symbolic than practical. But in that moment, it seemed alive. "You forget who you are speaking to," she said softly. The counselor hesitated. "Your Majesty." "I am Queen of Gyra," she interrupted, her voice echoing through the chamber like thunder. "My will is law." Silence. Jack stood there, breath caught, watching her, powerful, fierce, and heartbreakingly beautiful. The counselor bowed, trembling slightly. Then, "What is your command?" Elia looked at Jack for a long time. Her eyes softened just a fraction. "Release him," she said finally. "He is under my protection." Gasps filled the room. The counselor's face hardened. "If that is your decree, then you bear the consequences. The council will not protect you from what comes next." "I need no protection," she replied. He bowed low, voice sharp as a blade. "Then may your mercy not destroy you." He turned and stormed out, the other nobles following like a dark tide. When the last of them left, the chamber fell quiet again. Jack looked at her. "So, that went great." Elia let out a soft, weary sigh. "You have a strange definition of great, human." "Well, I'm alive, you're still queen, and no one vaporized me. I call that a win." Her lips twitched with the hint of a smile. "You are reckless even in chains." He shrugged. "Reckless is kind of my brand." She stepped closer, her voice gentler now. You do not understand what you cost me, Jack Carson. To protect you is to defy my own counsel. Jack's smile faded. Then why do it? She looked at him for a long moment, eyes bright and unreadable. Because, she said softly, when you speak, you remind me what it means to feel. My people have forgotten that. His heart skipped a beat. That sounds like a compliment. Perhaps it is, she murmured. Their eyes met, hers shimmering like galaxies, his wide with awe and confusion. For a moment, the room around them didn't exist. It was just her and him, two beings from different worlds, bound by something neither could name. Then Elia turned away, her tone shifting again, firm but quiet. Go back to your quarters. Stay there until I call for you. Jack hesitated. And if they come for me? Elia looked over her shoulder. They won't dare, she said softly, because I meant what I said. He smiled faintly. About what? She met his gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. Don't touch him, she said. He's mine. The night sky above the palace was restless. Lightning danced across violet clouds and the air pulsed with quiet tension. Something was coming. Jack could feel it. He sat on the edge of the strange, glowing bed in his guest room, running his fingers through his hair. He couldn't sleep. He couldn't stop thinking about her. Queen Elia. The way she'd stood for him in that council chamber, proud and fierce. The way her voice softened when she said his name. The way she made the word human sound like something precious. He smiled faintly to himself. Great job, Jack. You've gone and fallen for an alien queen, real smooth. Then the door burst open. Two guards stormed in, their eyes burning bright. Human, you are to come with us. Jack stood quickly. What's going on? They didn't answer. One grabbed his arm, the other raised a weapon. Jack pulled back. Hey, easy, I bruise easily. Before they could drag him out, a sudden blast of light filled the hallway. A voice shouted, a voice he'd know anywhere. Enough. The guards froze. Elia stepped out of the shadows, her cloak rippling with light. Her expression was thunder and fire all at once. I gave no order to move him, she said coldly. Explain yourselves. The taller guard bowed slightly, trembling. The council commanded it, my queen, they said. They said wrong, she cut in sharply. Now leave, both of you. They hesitated, glancing between each other. Her voice dropped, dangerous and low. That was not a request. The guards fled, leaving the room silent except for the hum of the palace walls. Jack let out a slow breath. You have great timing, you know that. Her eyes softened slightly. They are growing bold. The council no longer hides their defiance. So they're planning something, Jack said quietly, and it's not dinner invitations. Elia turned away, staring out the window where the clouds flickered with light. They will not forgive what happened in the chamber. Protecting you has made me a target. He frowned. Then I'll leave. I don't want to drag you down with me. She looked back at him sharply. No. No. Her voice trembled slightly. If you go now, they will kill you before you reach the city walls. They want a symbol, Jack Carson, a warning. Jack took a step closer, lowering his voice. Then come with me. She blinked, caught off guard. What? Come with me, he said again. You said your people forgot how to feel. Maybe it's time you reminded them. Leave the throne, the rules, all of it, just come. For a moment, the Queen of Gyra looked less like a ruler and more like a woman. Tired, torn, human in all the ways she was never meant to be. Do you even know what you're asking? She whispered. Jack smiled gently. Yeah, I'm asking you to take a chance. She stared at him, heart pounding. You are reckless, human. He grinned. That's what you like about me. Elia sighed, closing her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, there was resolve in her gaze. The ships are guarded. The hangars will be sealed by dawn. Then we move now, Jack said. Her lips curved faintly. You truly are mad. Yeah, he said softly, but it's more fun that way. They slipped through the palace corridors like shadows. Jack followed Elia's lead, his pulse racing as alarms whispered faintly in the distance. The walls seemed to come alive, reacting to her presence, doors sliding open at her command, lights dimming as if helping her hide. They reached a vast balcony overlooking the lower levels of the palace. Wind whipped through Elia's hair, catching the glow of the city lights below. Jack peered over the edge. That's a long way down. She smiled slightly. Do you not trust me, human? Trust, sure, height, not so much. A small shuttle was docked below, its sleek frame hidden among the silver vines. Elia pressed a glowing crystal on her wrist, and the ship's engines hummed to life. Go, she said, before the alarm spread. Jack frowned. Wait, what about you? I will follow, she said. Go now. But the sound of shouting echoed from behind them. Guards, dozens of them. Jack grabbed her hand. We go together. Jack. No time to argue, he shouted, pulling her forward. They sprinted down the narrow bridge as energy bolts flashed around them. Elia moved like lightning, her gown slicing through the air. Jack nearly tripped twice but kept running, laughing breathlessly. This is insane, he yelled. Welcome to my life, she shouted back. They dove into the shuttle just as the first blast struck the railing. The ship lurched forward, engines roaring. Jack slammed his hand on the controls. I think we're good. Elia caught her breath beside him, eyes wide but bright. You can fly this. He grinned. I crashed one once. How hard can it be to do the opposite? The shuttle shot into the sky, slicing through the storm clouds. Behind them, the palace glimmered like a wounded star. Elia looked out the window, her voice quiet. There will be no going back. Jack reached over and took her hand gently. Good, he said. I don't want to go back. For a long moment they sat there, side by side, two fugitives against a galaxy of stars. And as the shuttle soared into the dark, Elia smiled softly. You are chaos, Jack Carson. He smiled back. Maybe, but I'm your chaos now. The stars blurred into silver streaks as the shuttle tore through the clouds, engines howling like thunder. Inside, Jack gripped the controls with both hands, eyes wide with panic and excitement. I think we're flying, he shouted over the roar. Queen Elia, sitting beside him, raised an elegant brow. You think? Hey, this is my first time driving an alien ship. Cut me some slack. The shuttle jolted violently, nearly throwing them out of their seats. Elia grabbed the edge of the console, her calm expression cracking for the first time. You call this flying? I call it not crashing. That's progress, Jack yelled, wrestling with the controls. She exhaled sharply and reached across him, pressing a series of glowing symbols on the dashboard. The ship steadied, the turbulence fading instantly. Jack blinked at her. Okay, that's cheating. A faint smile played on her lips. That's experience. For a moment the chaos quieted. The view outside was breathtaking, billions of stars scattered across an endless sea of violet and blue. Jack couldn't help but stare. You ever get used to it? He asked softly. Elia followed his gaze. The stars. He nodded. She shook her head slowly. No, they are beautiful but lonely. Every light out there burns alone. Jack looked at her. Doesn't have to. Their eyes met for a heartbeat, and something silent and electric passed between them. Then the ship's alarm blared. Unidentified craft detected, a cold voice announced. Pursuit initiated. Elia's expression hardened. They found us. Jack glanced at the radar. 3 bright dots blinked behind them, gyron interceptors fast and deadly. Of course they did, he muttered, because we couldn't have one quiet moment. Brace yourself, Elia warned, flipping several switches. The ship groaned, engines flaring brighter. I am taking control. Jack held up his hands. By all means, Your Majesty, you're the pilot now. The shuttle shot forward like a comet. The stars stretched, the engine screamed, and Jack's stomach tried to escape through his spine. "Are they gaining on us?" he managed to choke out. "Yes," she said calmly. "That's not very comforting." Her hands moved quickly, her focus sharp. "They are trained to intercept deserters. They will not stop." Jack gritted his teeth. "Then we'll make them." Elias shot him a look. "You plan to outfly the best pilots of my empire." "Not outfly," he said with a grin. "Out crazy." Before she could ask, Jack reached over and yanked a lever that definitely looked important. The ship lurched sideways, spinning wildly between asteroid fragments. Elias shouted, "Jack." "Trust me," he yelled back. The shuttle rolled and dove through the glowing debris, asteroids the size of houses flashing past. The pursuing ships fired, beams of blue light slicing through space. Elias' hands tightened on the console. "You will kill us both." "Only if my luck runs out." "You have luck." "Sometimes." The ship dipped under a massive asteroid, scraping the hull. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and both of them shouted at once. "Watch the wings," she cried. "Tell that to the rock," Jack yelled. The chase turned into chaos, a blur of light and motion, laughter and panic blending together. Jack dodged left, then right, weaving through the field with reckless skill. One of the interceptors miscalculated and slammed into a drifting rock, exploding in a flash of blue fire. Elias' eyes widened. "You destroyed one." He grinned, breathless. "Told you, out crazy." The remaining two ships kept firing, their shots growing more precise. Elia activated the shields, her expression hardening. "We cannot outrun them forever." Jack thought fast, glancing at the scanners. A bright storm of static shimmered ahead, a nebula glowing with electric light. "What's that?" "The Veil storm," Elia said quickly. "A magnetic cloud, deadly to ships without shielding." "Perfect," Jack said. She stared at him. "You are mad." "Exactly." He pushed the throttle. "Hold on." The shuttle plunged straight into the storm. Colors exploded around them, rivers of lightning twisting through violet mist. The ship shook violently as arcs of energy lashed the hull. Sparks flew, lights flickered. "Jack," Elias shouted, "we'll tear apart." "Or they will," he yelled. The pursuing ships followed, too close, too fast. A moment later, one of them caught a bolt of lightning and vanished in a burst of white fire. Elia gripped the edge of her seat. One left. The last ship fired desperately, but the magnetic field scrambled its aim. Jack pulled the shuttle into a sharp climb, then dove suddenly into a gap between two glowing clouds. The final pursuer overshot them and disappeared into the electric haze. Silence fell. For a few moments, all they could hear was the hum of the engines and their own ragged breathing. Stared at him, eyes wide with disbelief. "You are insane." Jack grinned weakly. "You're welcome." Then she laughed, a sound like soft wind and starlight. "You risked your life for me." "Yeah," he said, smiling. "That's kind of my thing." Elia's laughter faded, her voice softening. "You are reckless and brave and impossible." He leaned back, still panting. "And you love it." Her eyes met his. "Perhaps," she whispered. For a long moment, they sat in the quiet glow of the nebula, their hands brushing by accident but neither pulling away. Outside, lightning danced through the mist like fireworks. Inside, something far more dangerous sparked between them. The storm faded behind them and the stars returned clear, endless, and quiet. The shuttle drifted in open space, engines cooling, its lights dim and gentle. Jack and Queen Elia sat side by side, breathless and bruised but alive. The silence between them felt different now, soft, almost warm. Jack glanced over. "So," he said, voice still shaky, "does this mean we won?" Elia smiled faintly. "We survived for now." "That's basically winning in my book." She turned her gaze to the stars. "The Council will not stop. They will hunt us." Yeah, he said, but at least we'll give them a good chase. Her lips curved slightly. You would laugh in the face of danger, wouldn't you? He grinned. Only because I'm terrified. Humor's cheaper than therapy. That made her laugh. A soft, real sound that melted the tension still hanging between them. Jack leaned back, watching her with quiet awe. Even after everything, the chase, the fire, the chaos, she still looked impossibly calm, as if the universe itself bowed around her. But there was something else in her eyes now. Not the cold glow of a queen, but the warmth of a woman who had finally allowed herself to feel. She looked at him, catching his gaze. You risked your life for me, Jack Carson. Why? He hesitated. You mean besides the whole getting vaporized part? Yes, she said softly, besides that. He smiled gently. Because you saw me when no one else did. You didn't see a trespasser, you saw a person. Elia's expression softened. And that was worth your life. Jack met her eyes. It was worth something bigger. She tilted her head, voice quiet. And what is bigger than life, human? He smiled faintly. You. Her breath caught. For a moment she said nothing. The lights from the stars reflected in her eyes, making them shine like tiny galaxies. Jack, she whispered, almost like his name was a secret she wasn't supposed to say. You don't understand what you're doing. I am not like you. I cannot live in your world. Then I'll stay in yours, he said simply. She shook her head. You cannot. My world is built on rules, on duty. You break everything you touch. He grinned softly. That's kind of my thing. She let out a shaky breath, torn between frustration and something far deeper. You are impossible. And yet you like me anyway. Her silence said everything. For a moment, the ship was filled with nothing but the low hum of the engines and the rhythm of their hearts. Then a warning light flashed on the console. The computer's voice broke the moment. Fuel reserves critical. Jack frowned. That doesn't sound good. It is not, Elia said, scanning the readouts. We have enough energy for one final jump. He glanced at her. One jump to where? She stared at the star map, her fingers hovering above the glowing chart. There is a neutral moon nearby, uninhabited. We could land there, hide, for a while. He smiled. A romantic hideout with no witnesses sounds perfect. Her lips twitched. You turn everything into a joke. It's how I survive, he said softly. Elia pressed the command and the stars stretched again. The ship shuddered, then fell into stillness as the jump ended. Before them floated a small moon, pale and silent. They descended through its thin clouds, landing in a valley of silver sand that glittered under the starlight. When the engines quieted, everything fell into peace. Jack stepped out first, boots crunching softly on the glowing sand. Wow, he breathed. You've got to admit you pick great spots for near-death getaways. Elia followed him, her gown brushing against the ground, her face illuminated by the pale light. It is peaceful. They stood together, looking up at the vast night sky. The stars seemed close enough to touch. Jack glanced at her. So what now? She didn't answer right away. Now I must decide what kind of queen I wish to be, she said quietly. One who follows laws, or one who follows her heart. Jack smiled faintly. For what it's worth, your heart's got good taste. She turned toward him slowly. You speak as though you know it. I'm starting to, he whispered. Something inside her broke softly, quietly. She reached out her hand, trembling slightly, and touched his cheek. You are foolish, she murmured, and stubborn. He smiled, and yours. For the first time, she didn't deny it. Her hand slid to the back of his neck, and before he could say another word, she kissed him. It wasn't a royal gesture or a desperate one. It was gentle, slow, and filled with everything they hadn't said. The stars seemed to pause. The air felt alive. When they finally pulled apart, Jack whispered, Now I'm really in trouble, are I? Elia smiled softly, her forehead resting against his. Yes, she said, we both are. They stood there, the queen and the human, bathed in starlight and silence. Somewhere beyond that moon, the Empire searched for them. But for that one fragile moment, they were untouchable. And as the night deepened, Elia whispered the words that had started it all, only this time not as a command, but a promise. "Don't touch him," she murmured. "He's mine."